So earlier in the week, I had done a video showing a very inexpensive impulse response loader that I came across on Amazon that I ordered up, and it was $59. I did a video showing that this was actually a cool little thing to add to a board for maybe a backup rig. Now, there was a lot of limitations to it. You could only use 44.1 kilohertz impulse responses. There was very little memory in it. It was a little finicky to transfer them over. But I mean, for a well-built little pedal for $59, it did basically work as advertised. But it got me thinking if there was any better solutions for a similar sort of thing. Obviously, we'd probably have to pay a little more money for it. But it got me thinking about a company that I've used their products before, a company called 2Notes. And they have this little guy here, which is, and I hope you can see that clearly, the TORPEDO C.A.B. M+. So this is much more than just an impulse response loader or a speaker simulator. This actually is a clean preamp platform. It has power amp simulation. We can tweak the power amp settings. It can load impulse responses, but it also has its own cabs built in that I believe they call Dyne IR, which means we can choose the microphone we want. We can move the microphones around in virtual space, which is really cool, just like we would in a real studio. Choose a ribbon mic, keep it on axis, put it off axis, pull it back, put it right up on the cabinet, and they have various speaker models available. So it's a very tweakable unit. I'm yet to try it. I'm going to try it with you guys for the first time here. One thing to keep in mind, you can use it with a real amplifier as well, but it is not a load box. I'm going to mention that again later in the video. It is not a load box. That's so super important because you don't want to just plug your speaker output into this and then not hook a speaker up to it or another load box. You can damage your amp quite severely that way, and I don't want to see anybody do that. And they're very clear about that in the manual also. One really cool feature is you have the ability to control this with your smartphone. I downloaded the TORPEDO Remote app for my Android phone. I was hooked up in 30 seconds to it via Bluetooth, and I can control everything right from the phone. Very cool stuff. But for today's demo, I'm going to be using the TORPEDO Remote software on my PC, which is going to give you more functionality than the app is. But the app is still a nice way that if we're at a gig and we have to tweak a tone, we can do it very effortlessly. So very, very cool stuff. But the TORPEDO Remote software is what we're going to be looking at today. And of course, we can change all that functionality right on the pedal itself. But I figure for the video, it'd be a little bit easier just to watch it happen on screen. For more details about it, though, go over to the 2Notes website, and they've got a great manual up there and great description of everything this is capable of. It's capable of a lot. And I really think that this could take an existing pedal board somebody wants that maybe they don't want to get into a full-blown digital modeler. They like what they have, and this is a really great way to give ourselves the ability to go direct, either live or in the studio, and get a real large array of different tones from our existing pedal board. So let's dive over to the TORPEDO Remote software and take a look and listen to see what this little pedal can do. So here we are over at the TORPEDO Remote software. Now, I already had this software installed on my computer simply because my Rev Generator 100R amp also utilizes this software with its built-in TORPEDO system. So it was a very easy setup. I had to update the firmware on the C.A.B. M+, took about 2 minutes. I updated the software to the latest version and everything worked seamlessly. I also tried hooking it up to my TORPEDO Remote Android app. It worked seamlessly. You can control it from your phone, as I mentioned. Let's just take a look and see what this is capable of. So we can see our kind of input channel here. Here's our in level. We have a gate if we so desire. We have a preamp we can turn on and off, a power amp we can turn on and off. We have our dual mic setup. We can mute one if we want, just use one. It tells you up here channel B is muted. We can control the axis of the microphone, the distance it is away from the cabinet. We can flip the phase on it, we can mute it, or we can even bypass the microphones altogether. So very interesting stuff. We have an output level for the presets and an output level, which is more of a master output, and we can mute that as well. So lots of control. Up here in the post effects, we have the ability to switch in a graphic equalizer with these 5 set bands, 120 hertz, 360 hertz, 800 hertz, 2 kilohertz and 6 kilohertz. We have an enhancer, which we can blend the dry and wet in as well with kind of presets for guitar and bass where we have body thickness and brilliance. We'll take a listen to all this. We have reverb, which we can control dry and wet, and we have different types. The actual room that we're virtually playing in, or we just have some more ambient style reverbs like plate, spring, tile, chamber, and whatnot. So very interesting. We can control the size, echo, and color. So lots of flexibility. We also have a cabinet we can turn on and off. If we turn this on, we can select from a great number. Now, you'll notice that some of these have clouds beside them. That means that these are going to be downloaded from the Two Notes website, and you have to purchase these. So I don't have these. But as you go through, if you see any that have the little USB dongle beside them, that means that's the ones that you own. So you can see as we go through here on the 112, there's a number of those. The ones with the little computer monitor are ones I believe I have licensed from previous, possibly from my Rev amp and other ones that maybe I've purchased from Two Notes in the past to use with their Wall of Sound plugin. So lots of options as we can see here. So we also have presets. There's the included ones. There's user settings. I've just gone down to a user setting here. We can save these settings, right? So we can switch over here on the graphics from mic A to mic B. So lots of flexibility. So right now I'm actually plugged into a Bogner-Lagrange Marshall in a box style pedal, but I'm not going to actually utilize that. I want to see what this sounds like just with the features, the built-in preamp and power amp. Like I said, this is, from my understanding, this preamp based around a Fender Bassman. I can't remember precisely the model. And then under the power amp section, we can choose whatever we want. So right now with the preamp and power amp off, I'm not expecting much here. And I also have the reverb on. Let me shut that off. Right, if I shut the cab off, basically we're just hearing the guitar as we would hear it plugged into any recording interface. And that's another little side point. I'm going out of my Torpedo C.A.B. M+, out of the 1/4 inch out to the input of my IK Multimedia Axe IO. So that's all you're hearing, no other processing going on. So that's what that sounds like. So now let's do this. Let's turn a cab on. I have this Bow Green cab, whichever one that actually is. So we now hear our direct signal being processed by the internal cab. Now over here, I could put a gate on, no need right now. There's my input level. Now let's turn our preamp on. We have gain. We have a 3-band tone stack style EQ here. Let's just kind of center those off. Bring that gain down to clean it up. So nice that we have this little preamp. I'm gonna drive that a little bit harder. We can also switch that over to a bass setting. Okay, so let's go turn our power amp on. Now what we can do is we can select from single-ended 6L6, EL34, EL84, KT88, or push-pull CXL6, EL34, EL84, and KT88. We can drive that very hard. We can switch between pentode and triode. And we have a depth control. Adds a little beef to it. So let's just start with these kind of around the center. I'll push this a little bit harder. Some of the different tube power amp settings. Let's go back to the push-pull 6L6. We see here we have a contour control. Add some real nice bottom to it. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to bump the treble up on the preamp just a little bit. All right, now we can also take the microphones and choose from a variety of microphones. Condenser 87, condenser 201, ribbon 121, dynamic 7B, 57, 421. We have some bass mics. We can combine two different mics. So I have the ribbon 121, which is the Royer R21 combined with the famous Shure SM57. This is pulled back a bit. This is basically right on axis, pulled back a little bit. But if we mute one of these, we can hear just the ribbon mic. You can really hear the difference pulling it back in the room, just like it would in a real life. So it gives us a nice realistic way to tweak our tones without having to sift through a million different impulse responses or cabinets. So that's kind of cool. Let's keep that around there, and we'll unmute the 57 and actually mute the 121 to hear what this sounds like on its own. So same sort of thing, we can really make some nice adjustments there. Let's just zero those back off and blend the two of them together now. If I go to a single coil, split coil mode on my Vigier GV Wood, may need a little more volume on that. Push the power amp there. I could also just bring the output level up. Now we have a little noise there, so I'm going to turn on the gate. There's a learn function, and it sets it automatically for us. So what a nice little setup here. So we have an EQ we can put in. Very functional and usable. Double click sets it back to 0. Very nice feature. The enhancer. The nice thing is we can blend the dry and wet with that. So just another nice little option to tweak our tones. And then, of course, we have the reverb. Make that a little more wet. We have control over the size. Echo. Color, whether it's dark or bright. Very nice. And we have different rooms we can choose from. A studio room. Now I've got the dry, wet way up. Let's bring that to 50%. So let's just go back to what I had here on the plate. And I'm just going to bring that back to maybe 25%. Just to add a little bit of reverb and ambience. Very nice stuff, man. Just without doing anything else but plugging straight in. Basically, I am going through my Bogner-Lagrange pedal, but it's bypassed. So we're basically going straight into the Torpedo C.A.B. What a great pedal platform this is going to be. We could set this up in any way we want with whatever our pedals are on our board, and it gives us a way to have a clean preamp, to add power amp simulation with various functions we can control there, various cabs. We can purchase more cabs. We can add in whatever mic and mic this and move the mics around. Really, really nice stuff. This is a great studio and live tool. I'm very impressed with it so far. So what happens now if I add my Bogner-Lagrange pedal to it? Let's see. So you can hear I've turned that on. I don't know what the levels are going to be like. You can hear a lot of noise. I'm going to hit the learn button on the gate again. And that's clamped that down for me. There's obviously a lot of controls I can change on the Bogner. I'm just going to leave that alone. Now, what happens if we turn the preamp and power amp off and just use basically what would amount to adding an IR to the pedal? I obviously have to make some changes to the settings on the Bogner pedal. But now if I go to the power amp here, and we'll add the preamp in. Now you may like that or you may not. I could get rid of that on a preset if I'm just using it for an overdrive pedal platform, or I could just tweak this as well. Bring the gain way back, bring the treble back. It's very tweakable. Now I can also come in here and change these microphones around. I could even mic the back of the speaker cabinet. I could change cabs out altogether. Maybe let's go with a 112. So you can see how flexible this is by just, changing the mics, changing the cabs. We have endless tones at our disposal here. We could, decide to go with a EL84 style power amp. Really fabulous stuff. I don't know what other cabs I have in here. Obviously, some cabs are going to be suited to certain tones better than others. Go to the Brit Vint C. So lots of possibilities there. Now, the other thing it does is we can use its IR loader, and we can just load up our own custom IRs that we prefer to use. So I very quickly pointed to the proper directory on my computer that I wanted to find my IRs, and I quickly loaded up one of the IRs that I personally made that's I have up for sale on the Line 6 Marketplace on my website. I'll put the link below to it. This is the RAV212, which is some impulse responses I made of my REV212 cabinet, and this is one of them that's mic'd with a fathead mic. All the same settings we had before. I've made sure to mute out the IRB so that I'm not getting this direct tone along with it. So I muted that out and cranked the volume up a little bit on my IR, and now we have this. So if you do have a favorite IR, you can just simply load it up here, and you'll see here's some of the other choices that I have from that particular bundle. I'm really digging those IRs, and very simple to load up and utilize. So there you have it. That was just some of the basic features. I could have gone on and on with talking more in depth about it. They've got a great manual online if you want to figure out whether there's certain things this can or can't do that would be more specific to your uses. But I'm very impressed with this pedal. I'm really glad I grabbed it. I'm going to probably use this on my rig as a backup rig, maybe with my Lagrange pedal with a preset here, and add whatever effects I want to it to give me kind of an all-in-one backup. If I was ever playing a gig with my Helix or HX Stomp and something went wrong with one of those, this would be a real savior, and it works great. And I really do like this in the studio as well for crafting tones. It's a great IR loader, but I really do like the fact that the included speaker cabs, we have that tweakability where we can pick different microphones and move them around in, a virtual space like we would in a real studio. I find that a very intuitive way to work, and I'm very impressed with the sounds. Obviously, you heard it coming out of my Bogner Lagrange. Whatever we feed into this can be used with a real amp. Keep in mind, this is not a load box. You cannot just run this from your amp into the Torpedo C.A.B. M Plus without hooking a speaker up. We do need a load on it. So some sort of load box or a speaker is going to be needed. So very, very important. point to, they mention in the manual very clearly too. So you don't want to cause any damage to your amplifier by using it incorrectly. But I think they've put together a really wonderful package here that could be very useful to a lot of you. And I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up about it. A lot of you probably have already seen this product. I don't think it's new. They had their Torpedo C.A.B M before that. Now it's the M Plus, which I think has added the preamp functionality, which is really nice because we can get a really decent tone out of this just with nothing else. And that's a pretty cool thing to have on your pedal board. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did and you think this is something you can use, go over to the Two Notes website, take a closer look at it, and order yourself one and add it to your board. I don't think you'll be disappointed. In the short amount of time that I used it today, I'm very impressed with what it's capable of. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some enjoyment out of watching it, and please subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I will be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.